I really think America has made a huge mistake when banning this app, because now that we're all on Red Note, we're actually learning that a lot of the crap that they've been talking about China is absolutely not true. We're like, wait a second, you guys have universal healthcare? You don't have to pay for an ambulance when you get picked up to the hospital. You have amazing cars for very low prices. Huawei, the amazing phones they have are also so much better than iPhones. And all of that is forbidden here. We cannot have any of that. Wait a second, you can walk at night outside and not be afraid? There's no mass unalivings in schools? What? What's that like? And I had someone comment on my Red Note being like, now that you're here, I hope you can see that we're not the beasts that, your news made us seem to be. And I was like, we never thought you guys were. I feel like we always knew it was bullshit. And yeah, no country's perfect. There's a lot of issues everywhere in this world. But it's very interesting. We're learning much more, I think, than they wanted us to know.
Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. If you're new here, karibu. If you're a 10 subscriber, thank you so much for clicking. Today, we are going to talk about Red Note and why it has been practically impossible for TikTok to be banned in the US. The ban was supposed to take effect on January 19th, but as we speak, TikTok is back in the US. So if you're keen to know why I think it was impossible to ban the app and my opinions on the matter, please continue watching. Also, I would love to hear your opinions down in the comment section. So please go down there and let's keep the discussion going. So before I give you my commentary on what I think on this matter, please let's watch a few videos and then I'll be back with my commentary.
Even if TikTok gets banned, I've seen enough. I have been woken up. I grew up fed propaganda that China is evil and that they treat their citizens like shit. I mean, I was raised by MAGA. It's the main reason why I feel so radicalized. American culture, American society is toxic, gross, poisonous. They poison our food. They jack the prices up of everything. We don't get health care. We don't get good public transportation. We destroy the planet for money, power, and control. Don't get it twisted. This is a class war, and I will not be giving this fight up. We deserve sovereignty and real freedom.
I feel like I have been brainwashed, but I grew up thinking that China was like a third world country. Like, the pictures and what I had visioned in my mind was there was so many people, it was dirty, there was smog everywhere, they ate disgusting food, like cats and dogs, they ate pets. What I thought was Chinese food was like our Western Chinese food, like sweet and sour chicken balls and fortune cookies, which is not a thing there apparently. That blew my mind. Yeah. That they weren't very friendly, that they're very pushy because there's so many people that they want to get in and out of lines fast. And all of that is so wrong. Like, that they're oppressed people because it's a communist country and they have like no rights. Their food is incredible, and I thought I was a picky eater and I ate pretty much everything there. Small quantities because I'm not a big eater, but the food is so good. Every restaurant has like a 20-page menu. There are so many options. Going out for supper just doesn't excite me anymore. It's expensive. The fruit, sometimes it's hit and miss if it's good enough, or good if it's good at all. I really miss the food there. The people were so nice and friendly. Even though they can't talk to me, they tried. They would wave and say like one or two words that they could in English. They tried to ask me questions because they were curious about like where I'm from. It's such a progressive country. I mean, I was in Shanghai, Beijing, and then I also went to Tianjin for a day. Super clean. Every building looks different. The architecture, they have like the more modern new buildings, and then they have their old traditional like temples and stuff, which are so beautiful. And their cars, like they have a lot more electric cars and different brands that we don't have here. Their phones, like we have the monopoly of iPhone there, they have Huawei and other things. Like, I just feel like I have been lied to and missed out on so much of life. For the most part, the people don't seem like they feel oppressed. They actually enjoy that there's cameras everywhere because they feel more safe, is what I've picked up. And you do feel very safe in the country. Like, I could go and walk around. I mean, I have no idea where I'm going and I can't talk to anybody, but I would feel safe wandering around aimlessly at night. You don't see like the gun problem. You don't see homeless people around. There isn't much for like garbage on the streets. Drugs are not a big issue there. You don't see people like passed out on the sidewalk, worried about if they've overdosed or not, or stepping on dirty needles. Like, that's not a thing there. The subway station. I loved using the subway station. I could get anywhere I wanted for really cheap. It ended up being like $1 to get across, or $2 to get across Beijing on the subway. And it's safe and it's clean. And I have never seen anyone eating cats, dogs, bats. Like, that's crazy. The food markets, yes, they're busy, but they're not dirty. They're a very clean country. So I can only imagine, like, all of the other things I think about other countries and how those are wrong too.
Can someone please tell me why we are so behind here in the US? Like, bro, I just saw some videos of what China really looks like. Bro, we are 200, 300 years behind. Let me just show you this. Check this out. What are we doing wrong? What? That looks like something straight out of like a video game. Like, what?
I think we all seen what's going on Xiaohongshu, aka Red Notes, right now, right? And it's the first time that American people and Chinese people are communicating with each other with no barrier between them. And they found that a lot of things they heard about each other are completely wrong. I'm going to talk about the 3 biggest lies I often see online about China. Number 1, social credits. This is so fucking stupid. You guys don't actually believe that there is a hidden score for everybody born in China, and the government is going to track you and mark you, and once your score go negative and you sentenced to death? What? I have never ever heard about this thing in my life. It's so funny to see so many Westerners actually believe in that. Just stop playing the jokes about, social credit plus 10. It's not funny. And speaking of social credit, I know America and Canada have social scores. If your social score is low, you cannot, get a mortgage. You cannot buy a car. You cannot get a rent. This is literally invented in the West. There's no such thing called social credit in China. No. Number 2, Xinjiang concentration camp. This is a blatant lie. There's no such thing called Xinjiang concentration camp. And we do not force labor them to pick cottons in the field. There's no such thing. And the fact is, it's actually opposite. The ethnic minority have way more advantage than me, which is ethnic majority, Han people in China. In Xinjiang province, if you go to the college entrance exam, they only need to get half of the scores to go to the top universities in China. And if you are ethnic minority, you have bonus marks and plus half of the score line. What? And yet, you guys are saying they are forced labored? Do you see how many machines working in the field in China? How advanced are the machines? Do you know Chinese are using drones for harvesting, for fertilizing, for everything in the field? Listen, if you've never been to China, if you ever get a chance to go to China, go to Xinjiang. It's so beautiful. Things are so nice. The people are so beautiful. The food is so good. I guarantee you, you won't regret. Number 3, China is not safe. If you're a foreigner, if you ever travel to China, you will get detained for no reasons. This is another blatant lie. Actually, China is the safest country in the whole world. Do you know that we don't really have the occupation called thieves? Because everything is going digital, that there's no use of cash. You only need your phone for like everything. You go on the bus, you go on a subway, you go to the hotel, your ID is on your phone, it's okay. You don't need to bring anything. So if your phone is out of power, you can just rent a portable charger for like 30 cents per hour. And if you are a thief in China, even if you steal a phone, like what you can do with it? You cannot unlock it. So there's no such thing called thieves in China. It's just so safe. And people be like, oh, there are cameras everywhere. Do you know where has the highest camera density in the whole world? London. The cameras are only in the public spaces for security reasons. So if you're not a bad guy, if you don't break a law, why are you afraid of cameras? And I know that in Canada, if your car got stolen or car got broken into, you report that to RCMP. They will just tell you that there's nothing we can do about it. Even if there's a camera and shoot everything, and they still tell you there's nothing we can do about it. And it's so safe that you can go out at midnight at 1 a.m. and the only danger is that just so many street food are so cheap, you can just easily get fat. That's it. Sometimes I just feel like the US government are really lacking of imagination. They always blame China for things they actually did. Like the slavery and the forced labor thing ring a bell in America. And yeah, it just happened in America, not China. As a Chinese, I really welcome all the Westerners to go to China and travel and see it yourself with your own eyes. It's not hard to get a visa. Just go. It's cheap. And people are so warm and so kind and so welcoming. You find out.
It might seem like I'm sucking Chinese ass with some of these posts that I'm doing lately, but I'm not doing that at all right? Look at it this way. The Chinese are at the forefront of literally everything. They went from a third world country to the forefront of everything in 30 years. This has never been seen in human history. They are doing things at such a level and speed of progression that they are literally, this dynasty that they have now, this is the one that takes us to the stars. And if you don't see that, you're not going to, okay? The Chinese have quantum entanglement technology, instant communication across distances. This is science fiction, future shit, Star Trek stuff. And they have it now. In COVID, they built hospitals in 2 weeks. They build bridges in 2 days. It takes us 20 years to build a highway. We could be learning so much from them, and they could be learning so much from us. They are potentially our greatest trading partner. We need to look at what they're doing and how they're doing it, and we need to replicate the speed that they're doing it.
So guys, now that you have watched all these videos, I'm sure many of us have opinions to give. So these few days or weeks that RedNote has been popular in the US, it has really shown its citizens that China is far much ahead than them. For the longest time, all of us, we've known that America is the dreamland. Everyone wants to go to America. But since RedNote got introduced, Americans got to really see for themselves what China is like, and they have been impressed, and they cannot believe that their government has been lying to them all this while, saying that they are the most developed and all that. First of all, when you look at the infrastructure in China, my goodness, it looks so futuristic. The buildings, the old alike with the new, the place looks beautiful. Their roads, their highways, everything in China just looks clean and beautiful. And when you walk around, it says that there are no many homeless people. Compared to America, if you Google the statistics of homeless people in America as compared to China, you will not believe it. China, yes, I'm sure there are a few homeless people, but you definitely cannot compare that to the US. This is because even their housing is cheaper. When you look at the US, most people have to work at least 2 or 3 jobs for them to be able to survive. And you see that there's not even family unit, because when the dad is away to work, the mom is away to work too. So the children practically, it is very hard for them to even interact with their parents, because the parents really have to work hard to keep a roof over their head. Otherwise, they'll be homeless. So when Americans see how the Chinese live, with their infrastructure just very developed, if you look at the subways station, I have put a video there, and my goodness, that place is beautiful. The subway station, as it is said by many people, not only Chinese, it is very clean and it is very affordable. You'd feel safe walking around in the subway station, as opposed to America, not just America, but as opposed to many subway stations where you feel unsafe. In China, everything just looks and sounds very safe. When you look at the education, my goodness, from kindergarten, children are being taught practical skills. If you are in Kenya, that is what we call CBC curriculum, which the government has introduced in Kenya, but China just started a while back. Children as young as 5 years can knit, can just play around with things and be able to be very creative. So they not only teach classwork, but they teach their children as young as 5 to know how to craft things with their hands, so that when they grow up, they can become very entrepreneurial and not depend on the government to employ them. Another thing I wanted to talk about is electronics. When it comes to phones, when it comes to electronics such as TV, when it comes to things such as cars, China is very developed and it is very diverse. You won't get very many makes of cars at an affordable price, so they don't rip off their people practically. All right. And also, the Americans came to learn that in China, healthcare is practically free. There are places where you can pay literally $40 annually for your healthcare. You don't have to pay for you to ask for an ambulance. Ambulances are free. And that is just a few things that Americans are like, what? We didn't know this existed. The next thing I want to talk about is the price of food/grocery. Just like transportation, these things are affordable and there's a variety of food. As you saw someone in the video say, like, they only thought people eat their cats and dogs. But when she visited, she saw like they have a variety of food. The menu is close to 20 pages and stuff. So apart from eating out, which is also affordable, the Chinese people are able to afford their groceries at an affordable price. It's not that expensive. Many people thought that China is a third world country. And something that I just learned is that China was able to move itself from a third world country, and in 30 years was able to be one of the most progressive countries in the world. That is very impressive. Imagine in 30 years you're able to progress from a third world country to close to a first world country. Because if you see their infrastructure, their policies right now, China is very much ahead of the rest of the world. When you look at China and how they're farming and the technology that they use to harvest their crops, the people who even use drones to harvest, that is a people who are very developed. And if we were to emulate some of these practices that these people are doing, then we'll be so much further ahead. Something that is funny is that they say they're not thieves in China because there are cameras practically everywhere. So my conspiracy theory, once again, is that the government felt that their people are becoming too woke and just realizing how far behind they are to the Chinese people, and thought like, why not just bring TikTok back? It just is just my theory and what I think. But guys, in these few days, the Americans have really been surprised by what they have been able to see, even just by interacting with the Chinese people in this small amount of time. And the surprising thing is, this information is easily Googleable. Is that a word? You can easily Google it and see for yourself. But for some reason, they've just been believing what their governments have been telling them. And it is now that they're so woke and they're wondering, what are these lies that we've been fed all this time? And also something else that I saw is that only the wealthy people pay taxes in China. I don't know how true that is. I didn't Google it. But those are just some of the things that you are left surprised by, like how nice for their people. That is very nice, because if you can provide healthcare, if you can provide many of these things, affordable housing, affordable food, safe place for people to live, that sounds like a pretty good place to live and even raise a family. So once again, thank you so much guys for watching. If you like such kind of content, please consider subscribing and come back for my next video. Until then, let's keep the conversation going on the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.